And Larita, who was on this podcast, she has her hands full. And it's like, of course, you love your child. Of course. So it's just, I can't imagine. So my heart really just goes out to. So Mary, really, come on, you know better. But I don't know. I think it's a double standard at Bravo. I've talked about this before. We have Jax and Kristen back. And when we want people on our TV screens, we keep them on. And when we don't, and it's convenient for us to make a, you know, Ramona is a racist and she's not on our TVs anymore. So we've basically parted ways with her, but we didn't for a really long time when we needed her. Again, she was not invited to the legacy. The only reason she was there was because Jill Zarin turned it down because she was offered the least amount of money and she was highly insulted. She was offered less than Kelly Ben Simone. And then we had to go call Ramona, but we didn't even call Ramona in the first place because we had these issues of racism on her record. And then when we needed her, we called her and then she doubled down and then it was already filmed. And now that we really don't need Ramona anymore, because I hate to break it to everyone, there's probably never going to be a girls' trip again. There's certainly not going to be a RHONJ girls' trip. And unfortunately, although I love Luann as a person, I don't think there's going to be a crappy lake. It's over, guys. We tried the nostalgia thing. It didn't work. We got to think of something else. Good try, though. Here's the one last thing that we can talk about before we wrap up. All this, I don't know if you guys saw all of this, because we started with all this stuff, and I said, like, this dirty stuff that goes on off behind the scenes. And I always say New Jersey plays so much dirtier than the other franchises. I stand by that. So I saw this kind of come across my desk. It was all over the place. And I don't even know if most of you know this, because that's what I try to tell people. Like, the underbelly of the internet, which I don't know what else to call it. Most people are not there, and I don't really focus on that. This show is for the bigger audience. We have guests. We have guests from Housewives. We have actual celebrities. We're not going to go with the minute thing in the back corner because that's not what you guys want to talk about. But I saw this all week, this whole thing that surfaced that Teresa, and it involves Jennifer Aydin too. So I'm going to get into that. I'm just going to offer some advice here today, okay? Because that's what I do. I offered advice to Margaret earlier. Keep your nose clean, Margaret Josephs. Keep your eye on the prize. My advice to Teresa is the same. So it's surfaced that Teresa, allegedly, this is what's out there, has been paying this one podcast or blog money for 12 years to put positive things out there for her. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's what seems to be. We heard this. I mean, I've talked about this before. We hear this all the time. Now, whether this is true or not, I don't know. And I don't even necessarily care. Mind you, I don't know why, if someone is being paid, you would ever take anything they say at value because they're on the take, so to speak, whether it's true or not. I mean, that's not this podcast. This podcast will never be on the take. We have never been on the take. That is the entire reason that I am not friends with Margaret Josephs. The people I am friends with, Ebony Williams, Anna Koses, Patty Stanger, anyone else I'm really good friends with? I mean, Luann and I are close. They would never ask me to put a narrative out there about them. Like, Ebony knows that if she were on the damn TV show and I saw her acting like a fool, I would say she's acting like a fool. There's no, I am not, that's not a friendship. The people from the Housewives world that I am friends with, it is completely even. It is like, oh, sorry, I didn't call you back for 5 days. Whoops. I've been running behind the velvet rope. I'm busy. It is not like, oh my God, so-and-so text. So that is the whole reason I'm not friends with Margaret, that she didn't like when I was saying Melissa Gorga kissed Nick in the back of a car. I don't really care what Margaret says. It's funny. It just recently came up because I was supposed to go to an event that Margaret went to. We'll get into that in another story. And Margaret was actually asked about me because this person didn't know that we weren't friends anymore. But that's just the point. So the point I'm trying to make is we're not on the take here. This is just like, I am friends team nobody. Whatever happens on this show, I will report on it. But my point is, Teresa, I'm going to give you some advice, Teresa Giudice. You are the queen of New Jersey. It's your show, honey. Okay. There are other people on the show. I mean, imagine going to work with Teresa and being like, I make $120,000 and she makes, in my opinion, like 2 to 2.5 million. That's my opinion. I don't know that for a fact. I was also quoted just saying that Teresa makes $2.5 million. Well, that's my opinion. The point is, girl, that's real money. It's your show. So what? I'm just so shocked at you, Teresa, that when you roll around in the mud with pigs, you get dirty. Why do you fucking care to go in and allegedly pay a fucking blogger to put good I really truly from the bottom of my heart don't understand this. Why would you do that? Who cares what someone says about you? I've said this before. Letting someone run. Well, first of all, you're also in the wrong line of business, Teresa. But letting someone create an entirely false narrative about you and run with it and say it with such conviction and have everybody now start to believe that that's true. And you know in your heart of hearts as a person that what that person is saying about you is so false. And people now believe this false thing about you. Guess what? When you don't care, that is top tier self care. I say this all the time. That is top tier self care. You're going to go and fight each accusation. That is a miserable fucking life. You are better than this. I mean, I'm just shocked that internally you can't teach someone this. You either get it or you don't. So I'm just shocked that tough Teresa truly cares what you allegedly care, and you're going out there and trying to manipulate bloggers to say good things about you. Who cares? I just had Megan King Edmonds on this podcast. She said really bad things, I guess, about Kelly Dodd, although I don't even remember what she fucking said. Oh, this sick Kelly Dodd was so upset. She came for Megan. She came for me. She said all this shit. People are sending it to me. None of it was true. And I'm like, I mean, I when I tell you that I don't care, I truly am like, I mean, also it helped the fucking podcast. But regardless of that, thank you, Kelly Dodd. I was like, who cares? That's top tier self-care. Who cares? And the thing is, when someone says all these bad things about you, Teresa, you don't try to counter it. You just live your life, which you are doing because you're at Coachella with Louis, but you just take note of who's buying into that. So whoever matters in your life knows you. So that's enough, honey. Yeah, you don't need to fill it with the external stuff. So if this is true, which I've heard for years, I just am giving true from the bottom of my heart advice to Teresa. Like, girl, who cares? Yeah.